everyone knows about me now. I'm a misandrous, I'm a feminazi, I'm a communist, I have an Oedipus complex. I must be really, really, really fucking evil. This transgender person, male to female. You're gonna hate me. I'm afraid of the day when I will get beaten up by the Philadelphia police. Right now. Fuck Israel! Fuck off, you Zionists!
So, I have to admit, for the past few years I've developed a bit of an obsession with a particular individual, known as Isabel Araujo, who was most often known as ADF. So much that I made this channel to post videos about her. These videos are made neither of love or hate from me towards the individual or any of her politics, identities or religions, even if I personally disagree. Just fascination from the story and character on my screen. A desire to put things together from start to finish, for the face I've seen hidden in all of these places. While the individual in question may have been a silent observer of these videos, I never received any comments from the subject themselves. Until now. I finally spoke to her. This is the new life of ADF. Okay, before you all start your angry comments, yes, I did say the word her, and I'm also going to describe her with the word she. I don't personally care what you call her or whether you think she is a real woman. I'm not demanding you say, respect or think anything about this individual when referring to them. But I know she certainly does care about pronouns.
Male pronouns are punishable by death!
If I hear a male pronoun, somebody's getting shot in here.
So maybe watch out for that. In terms of her name, I referred to her as ADF in the past. However, she has since personally requested that I refer to her by her legal name, Isabel Araujo, or just Isabel. So that's exactly what I will do. The old videos I made about Isabel are still up on my YouTube channel. But if you are new here, let me just quickly catch you up.
I am severely mentally ill.
Born Philip Haskins Delice, Isabel had a pretty tough childhood. As an autistic child with an alcoholic father and a disabled mother who also drank a lot, including allegedly during pregnancy. Her entire childhood she was surrounded by violence between her divorcing parents and her also autistic brother. She claimed the worst violence she'd experienced was suffered at the hands of her father, who she claimed wasn't just physically abusive, but sexually abusive. Her father denied this allegation, but does admit to spanking and using physical punishment against Isabel. Regardless, the anger directed towards her father was consistent throughout her entire life, with her blaming him for a lot of her problems. Seeing him as a negative example of a right-wing masculine man.
I suffer from something I would like to call misandry. That stems from the sex abuse my father did to me in 1997.
And even celebrating his eventual death. Isabel exhibited violent behaviour throughout her entire life. The most notable example was during an argument with her mother over wanting expensive cosplay items from her when she was 24 years old. When her mother refused, Isabel punched her, later posting all about this. She claimed the reason she did this was because of her being transgender and needing the items to transition into becoming her female self. She later fully medically transitioned.
I've been on estrogen like 6 years now. I need to have breast surgery now. And vaginoplasty.
She said that she'd struggled with her gender identity throughout her entire childhood. But this female identity first showed itself as a Naruto character cosplay. Isabel's anime obsession and cosplaying of characters would influence her gender, lifestyle and politics.
I'm not a communist because of Hitalia.
All shown on her DeviantArt page, ADF UN leader. Along with her art, which also displayed her anime love, fetishes and politics. Her most notable piece was a drawing of Sasuke shooting Republican presidential nominee John McCain. This is where she first became a notable figure online, and where trolling from various message boards started. This continued with the latest website being KiwiFarms.
Since KiwiFarms are a bunch of fucking cowards.
Many of these users also followed the lolcow Christian, one of the many people Isabel later had beef with.
Hello, Christian Western Chandler.
Damn homo.
The name ADF UN leader was an abbreviation of Australatina Defence Forces. Australatina being a fictional South American country that she created, as Latin culture was a huge special interest of hers, to the point of falsely claiming she herself was a Latinx person ethnically, even though she was actually white American.
Two white people just walked by me right now. Obviously, they don't often see Latinas
The Defence Forces part of her username was partially inspired by a different country she loved though, that being Israel and the Israeli Defence Forces. She really loved the nation, to the point of eventually converting to Judaism, and during her transition, legally changing her name to Ahuvia Harel, an Israeli name, with her temporarily claiming to also be ethnically Israeli.
As somebody who's half Jewish, I got it.
She also agreed with a lot of Israeli politics, calling Arab states pointless and blind hatred for Israel. She would often compare Israelis to the Uchiha from Naruto, especially Sasuke, which often bled into her arts, including a pederastic incest fanfiction that involved Naruto characters and Israeli soldiers.
Why are you carrying the Chinese flag? Because I'm a Maoist.
As her politics became more far left, she started to hate America, colonialism, and very much became anti-Israel. She was all of a sudden not Israeli and no longer Jewish.
It's argued I flipped around 2010, 2011, 2012.
Going from religion to religion. Starting out Christian, then Jewish, then atheist, then Buddhist, then a Satanist.
Hail Satan, hail thyself.
And now more recently, a Muslim. Something we'll get to later. But even at the point she was just an atheist, her self-identified Israeli past was long behind her. She changed her name from Ahuvia to Isabel, attending anti-Israel protests, making anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish posts, and even defecating on a Holocaust memorial.
I've been butting heads with other Zionists for that long.
Confusingly, she would also later claim to have DID, with multiple personalities with different politics, gender identities and religions, including one Jewish altar, who would go on imaginary tours of Israel, despite her, as Isabel, disagreeing with those views.
I think my headmates are hard at work.
She has since said that her DID symptoms and altars have gone away.
I feel like I've reintegrated since it's been... Remember what I said, time heals all wounds, and that includes being multiple. So I don't really have dissociative identity disorder symptoms per se.
She'd got into a lot of conflicts over the years, ones both real and imaginary, as well as many lost friendships and relationships that I cover more in my original documentary, including her years being homeless.
Yeah, I feel like that period of time in my life, I was vulnerable during the homeless years, and now I look back at it and I said to myself, I'm now removed enough from that period of history. I feel we're hitting 10 years since I've had the housing in October 2026, because that happened in October of 2016. So I feel like the passage of time heals wounds.
When she eventually did get housing, KiwiFarms quickly found her new address and doxed her, sending her packages, including a Bible, elephant feces, and a potato, which Isabel attacked.
Have at me.
They also sent her a Quran. This was the only thing that Isabel didn't get rid of, and decided to keep it, as she wanted to be more respectful than the Islamophobic KiwiFarms. Although she herself was a Satanist at the time, not a Muslim, she had always felt the sacredity of the item should be respected. Against fascists. The users on KiwiFarms also threatened to go to her house themselves and attack. This led to a lot more paranoia about her facing home invasion. She got a lot of tattoos throughout the years, to the point where it would cover most of her face and body. These tattoos being a mix of communist, anarchist and Satanist art. She also joined Antifa during this time, protesting President Donald Trump and right-wing groups like Patriot Prayer. Her claiming she had a significant role within the organisation of Antifa, calling herself Antifa Leader, Antifa Highway Patrol Officer, Antifa Prime Minister, or Antifa Crime Minister, as she would put it. She also called herself one of the Antifa Super Soldiers. None of these roles were official, but that didn't stop the media from using them.
So what's a Antifa super soldier?
Isabel has since distanced herself from claiming to be an Antifa leader, and only says it as a joke, mocking Andy Ngo and the media.
That's Andy's words. I still find it funny, 3.5 years later, Andy called me trans Antifa leader. So it's like, at this point, I'm like, okay, I guess I am Antifa leader.
She also claims that she used a secret alias that only her and her quote-unquote Antifa comrades knew, instead of her name. KiwiFarms quickly realised that she was going around calling herself Aspen.
This is Aspen. Aspen here.
This person, I forget what name I can use for this.
Aspen.
Aspen.
We're on my main political account. You please do not use my legal name.
Online, she would raise significant amounts of money to buy Antifa armour and weapons. One of these being mace, which she would regularly use, such as one significant event where she maced a right-wing protester. This drew the attention of many right-wing American journalists, the most notable of which was a man named Andy Ngo.
Andy Ngo, a fucking Nazi!
The editor-at-large of right-wing media corporation, the Post-Millennial.
They were previously known as Philip Haskins Delici. This person right now is using Twitter.
Him and Isabel had an established rivalry due to his posting of her and Antifa activity.
Andy Ngo, if you come after me and I live, you're going to pay.
Every time Andy Ngo posts about her, he gets a considerable number of offensive and threatening comments directed towards Isabel. She very much considered the man and his organisation an enemy of hers.
Hello, Andy Ngo. I will fucking find you.
And would threaten him accordingly.
Mr. Delici posted on one of his many social media accounts that he was out looking for me, and he described in detail what he would do if he got his hands on me, and posted images of weapons that he had in his possession, including firearms.
This was around the time I started covering Isabel in my documentary about her, having first heard about her in Christian's story, hearing the recent news about her, and me connecting the dots. I decided to stop covering Isabel's antics after late 2022, when she'd left Twitter, as very little had come out about her since. It really seemed like she was going to disappear from public life and simply just live in private. I quickly found out I was very, very wrong. What I didn't cover when I was making the original series was her private Instagram account, because I didn't have access to it, but other journalists like Andy Ngo had, and on that he'd find more recent threats directed towards him. Threats that were made using screenshots and thumbnails from my documentary. The entire time I never knew if she herself had watched the series, but apparently she did. This really wasn't the way I wanted to find out. I don't think she took the right messages from my videos at all. Political violence and threats of political violence is something I very much condemn. One of her threats read, "I vow in the second half of the 2020s to defeat Andy Ngo, give him his October 7th and destroy the last manifestation of internet cyberstalking in existence for me." Which referred to the recent attack on Israel by Hamas. An event that very much inspired Isabel, feeling she had a lot in common with Hamas.
October 7th, 2023 for me was like, I woke up, I saw the news, I was like, let's go.
You were celebrating?
Yes. Rightfully. I'm like, for the first time in 75 years, Israel's myth of invincibility has been trashed.
Mom, do we have enough Palestine flags now?
Andy Ngo was not the only person she threatened on this account. She also threatened anti-trans activist Kelly J. Keane and former Portland City Commissioner Rene Gonzalez, someone who had already been a victim of an Antifa attack when they allegedly set fire to a car in front of his house. Isabel posted a target over his head saying, "You could always clean up Portland by getting rid of Rene." This was reported to law enforcement and Isabel was under investigation. On March 24th, just a couple weeks after I uploaded the final episode of my documentary, I briefly browsed KiwiFarms to check Isabel's thread to see if anyone was talking about her. And on that thread I saw someone shared this video.
Get the fuck out of this car!
Oh, Hamas supporters found them.
Not Hamas, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Try for PFLP next time.
Well, Hamas supporters, Palestinian supporters, supporters of the bad Palestinians, actually, not the good ones. Not the ones that are getting killed by Hamas. No, you guys are here marching for the ones taken from the hospital, right?
Hey, get the fuck out. Mutual point, you burned your book, get the fuck out. You get the fuck out now. 5, 4, 3.
So much for a religion of peace.
The person who filmed this video was a woman by the name of Soraya Almosa, or AraAmericanUncensored online. She originally titled the video, "Pro-Hamas Rally Security That Attacked Me." Almosa is a bit of a controversial character herself, and someone whose past is very much shrouded in mystery. Not the least because her accounts are regularly suspended, with varying reports of who she really is. But one thing is, she has gathered quite a bit of a reputation. She describes herself as the most hated activist, and has made herself known by burning Qurans around the world, doing this to protest Islam, something she is very against. The act of Quran burning is very much considered blasphemous to Muslim people, and has led to a lot of violent conflicts throughout recent history. Almosa herself doing this has attracted a lot of attacks and abuse towards her.
And for the most part, it's me being attacked. It's people punching me in the back of the head, trying to grab me by my hair and pull me down, kicking my feet out from under me, trying to surround me as a mob, chasing me into, 7-Eleven convenience stores. It's like, I am not a violent person. I'm the person who takes the violence. I don't deal it.
She calls herself an American anti-fascist Quran burner. She said that she has both left and right views, saying, "The AraAmerica team is all about uniting the left and the right against common enemies and beliefs. We fight against Marxism, racism, and all forms of fascism, including Islamofascism."
My own people, Antifa.
While she often claims to be Antifa, it seems she only has negative things to say about them.
Calling yourself anti-fascist doesn't make you one.
Most of the posts I can find are her attacking almost exclusively left-wingers.
That anti-fascism is obviously devoid of, like, leftist ideology. Like, obviously it's not Marxist, it's not anarchist per se. Like, it's this like, more of this libertarian, minimalist state type of, like, involvement.
So, you know, I don't see myself on either side. I see myself more as a centrist. But when I would go out there and have these conversations, like, I marched with BLM.
She also claims to have been a part of Black Lives Matter. Yet, at the time, she seemed to make many posts supporting Blue Lives Matter. And in her own words, was infiltrating far left spaces.
She was active with a police nationalist group back in the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. She was in company with, like, Sweeney and the Proud Boys, Joe Gibson, Patriot Prayer.
While there, she herself was accused of macing other Black Lives Matter protesters, as well as allegedly throwing cans at them. This, along with her open support of Donald Trump and Tommy Robinson, made many on the left doubt she is as bipartisan as she claims.
You know Tommy Robinson of the English Defense League? She is friends with him!
However, from some of her statements, she does seem to have at least a few of what's considered left-wing views.
I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Elon. I got an issue with billionaires, honestly. There's the anti-fascism. The anti-fascist in me is going to come out on this conversation because I can't stand billionaires who try to... I feel like he bought his way into the politics. Yeah. And then I look at, like, the relationship he has with his trans daughter and the things that he's saying.
On March 24th, there was a pro-Gaza protest in Couch Park, Portland. Almosa interpreted this as being pro-Hamas and decided to do her Quran burning while there, in order to counter their protest. And this is where she filmed the video, and the incident of being maced by an unknown masked protester took place. As to why I am talking about this, should be fairly obvious when you look at who is doing the macing. I couldn't help but look at this person and agree with the KiwiFarms thread that this was unmistakably Isabel. Spraying a person with mace like she'd done so before, going by the name Aspen, and come on, that voice.
Get the fuck out now. 5, 4, 3.
Incredibly recognisable. I was certain this was her. So much so that I made a post about it. To which I got a comment from Ara herself, who asked who ADF was. Another user commented on her original video, telling her that this was Isabel, which at the time she denied, saying, "That's not the person who did that to me. You get your info from my stalker, who has no idea what he's talking about. My stalker is the only one making that wild claim." And after the user said they recognised the voice, she said, "I know the car they drove in. I know who it is, thanks." Isabel does not drive. However, there was another Antifa member who did confront her in the video, seemingly an associate of Isabel.
Oh, so I don't have a right to burn things, but you guys can.
What am I burning? This is like a public hate crime.
Is it?
Yeah!
Have you read that thing?
Yeah, I am.
So that was likely the confusion. She would eventually come around to believing that this was Isabel, especially after the video was shared by other sources, such as Andy Ngo.
She had an assistance of identification from Andy Ngo.
3 days after the incident occurred, Almosa reported it to the police. She said that it was Isabel due to voice recognition and community tips. However, in other police statements, she said, "I couldn't remember that person's name. I just got in touch with the person who put the video up, Andy Ngo. I got in touch with him, And I was like, what's this person's name? Like, what if I want to press charges? What name do I use? This later made Isabel believe that Almosa was simply a proxy of Andy Ngo.
I think he was that invested to engineer lawfare against me to assist Miss Almosa with identification. I'm sure, he had a vested interest for me to get the death penalty for hurting one of his Islamophobic proxies.
She reported the incident to the police after 3 days, rating her pain as an 8 or 9 out of 10, and did not seek any medical attention. She stated that the spray felt like Windex in one call with the police. She also mentioned that her driver behind her also experienced eye irritation from the spray. On another call for the police, she claimed to recognise Isabel's face. However, she did not mention the very prominent face tattoos Isabel has. Isabel continues to tell me to assume innocence. However, I do know for a fact that she was at the event, as she posted about it, saying that she would be there in full force. And a week before, she bragged about chasing Zionists and making them run for harassing pro-Palestine protesters. For the next couple of months, while the investigation was going on, Isabel remained quiet and laid low. This was until she was spotted at another protest. On July 13th, she, along with Antifa, protested the Jesus March in Portland, a Christian worship event. She was filmed and identified there by far-right activist Brandon Farley.
Oh look, it's the Antifa police!
Someone who Isabel encountered before.
Brandon Farley needs to stay a respectable distance from us. Yeah.
Stay a respectable distance away from these kids.
He recognised her right away, as he'd very much been following the story. He called the police, and the police soon arrived to arrest Isabel.
Brandon Farley did report my presence to the police, and in turn that resulted in my arrest about sometime later. I didn't think it was an immediate thing. I would put it at roughly an hour or so from Farley's sighting to being thrown in the back of a cop car.
She was booked into the Multnomah County Jail, charging her with unlawful use of tear gas and harassment. She pleaded not guilty to all of these charges. Araujo was booked into the jail as a female listed on the record based on her gender identity, per Portland rules. The form did list her ethnicity as white though, although she identifies as Latinx. During the arrest, the police seized the weapons Isabel had on her at the time. These included pepper spray, a baton, a knife and body armour. She was released the same day without bail, due to agreeing to court conditions.
They arrested me, they booked me in jail. I was let out 4.5 hours later from time of arrest to release.
Almosa publicly celebrated the arrest on social media, as did Andy Ngo and many of Isabel's trolls.
Get out now.
Oh, really?
All right.
The next day she had her first legal hearing related to the assault case. This was done remotely, via the Oregon Virtual Courtroom. KiwiFarms quickly found this website, and the fact that they could join the hearing to view it anonymously. When Isabel joined, she quickly saw the amount of anonymous viewers and told the court, "I've got security concerns and internet stalkers. I have an internet stalker problem, so I fear they will try to disrupt court proceedings. I have people listening here." Isabel then asked for a public attorney. The attorney given to her was Josephine B. Moberg, who publicly uses they/she pronouns. She had a lot of experience working on similar cases and describes herself as a climate, animal liberation, anti-policing and anti-border organiser living on stolen Chinook land in so-called PDX, Oregon. Andy Ngo claimed that she had a left-wing bias and a history of supporting far-left militants. The prosecutor in this case was Multnomah County Deputy District Attorney Noah Berg. He was a Republican who Isabel herself called an overzealous, pro-Israel prosecutor, something she very much had a problem with.
The prosecutor had an agenda, and he had a pro-Israel agenda. Like, oh, I gotta get one against this pro-Palestine terrorist.
He was brought in by the district attorney at the time, which was Nathan Vasquez, another Republican who was known to be hard on crime, with a zero-tolerance stance on criminal behaviour during protests, such as those of Antifa.
We want our local folks to be able to demonstrate, we want to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights, but that is totally different than going out and engaging in violence or in vandalism. If you break the law, I'm going to seek to hold you accountable.
Isabel called Vasquez a petty loser of a district attorney, hell-bent on making a political example of my case because he's transphobic and Islamophobic himself. The main judicial officer was a man named Stephen Alexander. Along with the initial charges of unlawful use of tear gas and harassment, she was also sent an additional charge of assault in the 4th degree. She pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges. The prosecutor asked that Isabel have no contact with the victim and be banned from using mace during the time period in which the case was going on. Moberg asked the court to strike the restriction on mace, citing Isabel's stalking and harassment and need for self-defence. The judge decided that Isabel was not allowed to contact Almosa during this time and told her to obey all laws, but didn't specifically ban her from mace while the case was ongoing. Isabel was also made to complete an anger management course. Having the freedom to keep her mace, she would continue to protest and threaten people with the spray.
Zionist repellent. Also down here, Zionist repellent. I scared a couple Christian Zionists at Pioneer Square this afternoon. I'm highly proud of myself. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
She did say that the arrest caused her a lot of stress, though.
I've had a stressful last 4 weeks between mental health and getting in trouble with the law. So, today or tomorrow, I would like to engage in some fact kit activities. And those fact kit activities include pepperoni pizza, because I want grease in me. And, okay, might not be the healthiest thing for somebody who's pre-diabetic, but, guess what? I'm under a lot of stress, and I would like to see if I can have a less shitty birthday this year, given all the stuff I'm putting up with. So, hit up my Cash App.
She didn't get her pizza paid for, not straight away anyway. But she was gifted another Quran, something she wouldn't read until much later in the year. Her next hearing was scheduled August 14th. After that, she had a readiness hearing on the 20th of September. The day before this hearing, KiwiFarms trolls found her new address due to it being listed on the Oregon court's website. This led to more paranoia from Isabel about a home invasion occurring, with her posting, "An Andy Ngo proxy of KiwiFarms doxed my home address. They clearly have not learnt anything since 2020. I have only gotten more armed since 2020, and trying the same bullshit every 4 years is predictable at this point for me. Anyhow, not afraid to protect myself by any means necessary." KiwiFarms users never actually visited the house themselves. The closest was one guy who filmed and took pictures outside of it and on the same streets. However, Isabel still sees them as serious threats and brushes off any idea that KiwiFarms were just joking.
You're gonna say that, and you know, I've heard that stuff for nearly 20 years, and now at this point it's like, I want to say they're just trolls, and I'm like, I'm not convinced this time around.
She also posted, "Time to globalise the intifada against KiwiFarms. They are, just like Israel, Zio-Nazi scum." Isabel often referring to KiwiFarms users as Zio-Nazis, combining Zionist with Nazi, which is how she sees them. KiwiFarms' actual views on the nation of Israel is rather mixed. She also posts a lot more on Instagram, mostly political Islamist posts.
Can y'all stop it with being tools for the temporary Zionist entity? Y'all cheering on the demise of the Assad regime. Yeah, stop it, please.
She has also made a considerable number of pro-Russia posts.
People are being dumb and don't understand where I'm actually coming from when I'm siding with Russia.
As well as general venting about her recent interactions.
Dear whoever thought it was such a brilliant idea to attempt to cut me off and left lane camp in the sidewalk at Northwest 13th and Gleason. Not a good idea. Never a good idea. Just nothing good will ever come of it. It's not smart. So don't do it. Especially against somebody who's a trans woman who has 6.5 years experience in Antifa. It won't end good for you. Just don't do it, okay? Also, 15 days until Malmus.
Malmus being Isabel's alternative to Christmas, named after Chairman Mao.
It's beginning to look a lot like Malmus when what's getting stuffed, and the chairman has ordered them down in the ground. Halfway there for Pig Destroyer Pizza after meeting with my public defender on Friday on ACAB Day, 13th of December, 13/12. So, another 25 bucks to go and that pizza's happening. And I want to say with a fucking chest, fuck the Portland Police Bureau for unlawfully arresting me.
The meeting with her public defender was delayed, one of many delays she would eventually experience. Her criminal trial was initially set for November 2024, but then it was delayed due to Almosa's unavailability. Isabel stated that this caused more fear and anxiety for her around the case, having it be dragged on. It turned out that there was a reason for this delay, as at the time Almosa was battling an entirely separate case in which this time she was the accused. Charges were brought onto her after she was accused of assaulting her then boyfriend with a 3-inch laceration on his face, leaving him with permanent disfigurements. Almosa claimed this was self-defense.
By defending myself, I hurt the other person on a much higher level than they were hurting me, so I'm in trouble.
Almosa went to jail for 72 hours and then had to wear an ankle monitor with a 60-mile radius for the period of the court proceedings.
If you look at, I've got 2 court cases going on right now. My felony that I'm being charged with, and then another case in which I was also the victim of an unwanted physical attack. And I, as a witness, have to go and testify against that person.
Isabel wasn't in an in-person court until January the 21st, 2025, where she attended Multnomah County Courthouse to defend herself in front of a 6-person jury. The day before the jury selection began, Isabel had agreed to plead guilty in a deal that would shorten her probation time. However, before this deal was signed and finalised, she rejected it after learning that she would be barred from carrying weapons, such as mace, for an entire year. This was something she was not happy about.
I now own 6 automatic expandable batons. Because, guess what? Seconds count in a fight, and when you have people who want to kill you for being trans, who want to jump you for being the wrong political affiliation, you know how anarchists in Portland can be. Seconds do count in a fight, and I do mean they literally do count in a fight.
She rejected the plea deal and pled not guilty.
Stay safe and stay dangerous, and may the new year for me exonerate me and find me not guilty.
On the day of the trial, numerous Portland police officers attended in order to testify as the state's witnesses. Although Isabel posted about wanting support during her court case, very few people turned up.
I have a couple of people who showed up. It was not a lot of people. I'm not the most, I'm going to say it, I'm not the most popular person in the anti-fascist community here in Portland, nor do I seek to be. That's not how I operate. I say that out of, like, I don't let social capital dictate my actions.
Her mother also didn't show.
She's in New Jersey, and I'm in Oregon, so 13 states away, no chance. And she's not one to travel cross country for it.
The judge in this case was Adrian Lee Brown, a progressive who was dedicated to helping the more vulnerable communities. Brown had been directly involved in pushing for systemic reform of the justice and mental health system.
Issues like policing practices, issues like access to justice for people with disabilities.
Personally worrying that there were too many people with mental illnesses being sent to jail, rather than getting support. She had once said, "I have a decade of experience as well as a lifetime of passion to help increase access to justice for our most vulnerable community members."
I served as National Civil Rights Coordinator under President Obama's Justice Department.
This caused many on the right to accuse her of having a left-wing bias, and after the trial she was even banned from trialling serious cases by the district attorney, due to what he claimed was a record of rulings or courtroom behaviour that, in the DEA's view, undermines fair application of justice in serious cases. Post-Millennial were of course very critical about her alleged bias, and they covered the trial extensively, sending one of their reporters to attend. This was a woman by the name of Katie Daviscourt.
Me and several of my colleagues have been reporting on Antifa here for years now. It's been almost a decade.
Daviscourt regularly reported on the activities of Antifa, along with Andy Ngo. She attended the trial to gather information, and despite the court's rules, managed to take some photos to post online. The defence raised many concerns about post-millennials' involvement, and the social media reporting around Isabel, especially given that Almosa claimed that Ngo was the one who originally told her Isabel's name and identity. A source that very much has a bias against Isabel. Her defence said that they'd taken significant efforts beforehand to make sure Almosa never saw Isabel's face prior to the trial date. However, that effort was wasted, as Andy Ngo would publicly post her face all over their website, allowing Almosa to change her story, to add details like falsely claiming that she saw Isabel's tattoos. Isabel's attorney filed a motion to dismiss the case, claiming that they had not received police body cam footage. She also said there was issues with discovery. They argued that the video that Almosa shot was edited, with footage missing, and without the full thing, they had no way to fully review for exculpatory details or impeach Almosa's accounts. Almosa had the full video in Vancouver. The prosecutors never obtained this, citing email size limitations and Almosa's lack of transportation. After the first day in court, Brown ruled in Isabel's favour, dismissing the charges without prejudice due to a discovery violation. She said that the violation was due to policy in how discovery of body-worn cameras recordings are sent to the defence, and not as a result of any wrongdoing by the case Deputy District Attorney. This decision angered a lot on the right, claiming it was due to the judge's own personal bias. Isabel then posted, "Andy and the Zionists are crying. I am celebrating," accompanied by an Islamic jihadist song. Almosa and her team were also not very happy with the results.
The judge just dismissed their case. They just dismissed it. So it's like it's okay for some people to be violent, but not others.
Sure, indeed.
Depending on where you stand politically.
And so, a few days later, the charges were refiled. Isabel responded, posting, "From food court to the courtroom, Palestine and Aspen will be free. And yes, the DA refiled the Class A misdemeanor charge on Friday afternoon, so I will be back in court for a second round, and hopefully not an unlawful, unconstitutional shit show of a trial that was on Tuesday." And the judge saw through the bullshit and did a dismissal without prejudice because the state fucked up discovery and defence couldn't mount a proper defence against the charges. This just means Andy Ngo's Islamophobic, pyromaniac, Quran burning at Palestine protest proxy, AraAmericanUncensored, will get destroyed by all the impeachment evidence by my public defender next time around. All this just goes to another dismissal, but with prejudice, with pre-trial motions. Stay tuned. Current score, end of January 2025. Aspen, the Antifa and Palestinian actionist, 1. Andy Ngo and his Quran-burning dweeb, 0. Also, Katie Daviscourt and Brendan Farley are a threat to our community and does the dirty work for Andy Ngo. And shortly after, in February, the case was fully reinstated. Because of post-millennials' involvement in covering the case itself, the hate that had come along with it, as well as the original allegations of the prosecution hiding crucial evidence, Isabel and her defence filed for another dismissal. The court largely agreed that this was all stressful for Isabel, but that was not enough for a dismissal of the case, and her request was denied. Whilst Isabel was awaiting her next trial, she still continued to attend protest, as well as crowdfunding for more weapons, saying she needed them to defend herself from Andy Ngo, KiwiFarms, and what she claimed were local Zionist groups after her. In what she called a Cold War, she made a long thread on Blue Sky about this, that went over her history with Andy Ngo and KiwiFarms, before making a list of institutions in Portland that either directly supported Israel or were Jewish, with red triangles, just to piss them off. These red triangles were a reference to a symbol Hamas uses to target Israelis for death. This is something that Isabel uses often. In this thread, she explains how she doesn't think that she is anti-Semitic, despite her using the terms Yehudi, Yehudi, Jew and Jewish all interchangeably, and saying she considers Jews the oppressor colonialist class, and that Arabs using the term Jew is equivalent to Native Americans using the term the white man. Isabel is very much not Arabic. She also said this on the subject: "I don't give a fuck about Jewish feelings. That would be tantamount to censoring German feelings in 1941 during Barbarossa against the USSR during World War II. Also, Judaism has a really bad fascism problem called Zionism. I know, because I used to be a Jew myself before leaving the religion in 2012. She then discussed her history with pro-Palestine actions and how it put her in the crosshairs of certain Zionist groups. She confessed that because of this, she once feared a bomb threat so much that she redirected her mail to the Rosehaven Trans-Inclusive Women's Shelter. The idea that Isabel would potentially redirect a bomb to a women's shelter was mocked by KiwiFarms, which Isabel brushed off as the typical Zionist human shields talking point, and that was Islamophobic. KiwiFarms also kept making home invasion jokes, especially after every time Isabel brought it up. This eventually led to her posting, "KiwiFarms, this is your ultimatum. You have until 12:01 AM on Friday, April 18th, 2025, Good Friday, to cease making threats of home invasion and violence. Your terroristic behaviour runs counter to the peace and dignity of the anti-fascist jurisdiction of Portland. You have been for far too long given safe harbour in the communities of the so-called Silicon Forest. You cross the porous western border and harass trans women in Portland. This will stop, even if it means an intervention must occur to stop your violence and terrorism." One would hope that the term of denazification would mean something to KiwiFarms. This didn't work, as KiwiFarms users continued to say that they would invade Isabel's home. Due to the refusal of KiwiFarms to cease home invasion threats and threats of violence, within the next few hours, a special military operation will be launched against the Silicon Forest communities. This action is to secure the western borders of the anti-fascist jurisdiction of Portland. The scope of the operation is to neutralise the Zionist KiwiFarms operating in the eastern parts of Washington County. The Silicon Forest will pay for harbouring terrorism. She then proceeded to post many different maps of the Portland area, with lines and ninjas drawn on them, fantasising that an Antifa army was protecting her and Portland from KiwiFarms. She eventually stops this and deleted her Blue Sky account. She would then stay offline for a couple of months until she created a new Blue Sky account titled Hezbollatina, combining the Lebanese Islamist paramilitary group Hezbollah with the ethnicity she identifies as. During this time, Heather Lynn Brigid Van Wild, a trans activist and associate of Isabel, who ran the page Raindrops Works, started reporting on Isabel's case. Heather had known Isabel for a family friend and met up a few times over the last few years. The last time they spoke before the trial was on Thanksgiving 2024, where Isabel told her all about the case. Heather was also a very left-wing trans woman who had negative experiences with post-Millennial and specifically Kate Daviscourt's reporting. So she was very much on Isabel's side in this, as opposed to post-Millennial themselves. On the 5th of August 2025, after a number of delays, her trial had started, first having her pre-trial motions. Katie Daviscourt also attended this trial.
She was seated in the back of the defense table behind me, not whipping out her camera because there was a strict rule this time by Judge Brown. You were not photographing anybody in the courtroom. This was more, this time around, Judge Brown had her crap together with regards to no in-courtroom photography.
Around this time she got a new attorney, this time being a man named Justice V. Kelly. The defence told the jury that the unedited video was still missing, but that the judge had allowed a partial clip to be used, describing it as the best evidence the state currently has. The court then addressed hearsay and derivative testimony. The defence argued that this whole trial was simply a case of mistaken identity. that the person in the video provided was not Isabel, that the state's evidence was purely inference, that it was just a person in common Antifa gear who went by the name Aspen, not Isabel, and the state didn't actually provide any evidence that Isabel used that name. Although Almosa may have claimed she knew the perpetrator was Isabel, she only connected the Aspen in the video to Isabel because of what reporters such as Andy Ngo claimed. They argued that the police couldn't rely solely on that fact. So the defence framed it as a classic hearsay and a Sixth Amendment confrontation clause problem. The judge suggested limiting instruction. They would allow some statements for context without letting the jury treat them as proof of identity, and that the link could not rest on inference alone, signalling she would instruct the jury accordingly. The court weighed whether the jury would see Isabel's weapons that had been seized. The defence counsels stressed the optics of showing a knife and baton in the case where they are not relevant or were used at all. And so because of that, the judge decided that referencing the knife and baton would require strict limiting instructions before they could reach any jury.
Basically, there was a motion to suppress evidence, and the judge allowed all of the evidence in, and that should have been not allowed. They should have kept it germane to the pepper spray, for example. They did not do that. They allowed, like, certain photos, such as all of everything I was arrested with nearly 2 years ago.
The first officer to testify was a man named Royce Barber, who had served 3 years at the Portland Police Bureau. He described reviewing the video Almosa provided. Barber told the court that he believed Almosa never saw the attacker's face prior to the investigation. When asked if the police had interviewed any additional witnesses, such as those visible in the video, Barber said they hadn't, and that those bystanders had yet to have been identified. His testimony was then interrupted by a man who came in, refusing to follow court rules when asked to remove his hat. Instead, using his hoodie to cover his eyes, trying to mask his posture. The judge ordered the jury to leave the room so the court could deal with. The man disappeared during lunch break, never to be seen again, but was considered a significant disruption, so they amped up security. Isabel claimed that she had recognised the man instantly, and that it was none other than Brandon Farley.
We were about, I believe, a couple of hours in trial, and then Judge Brown cleared the courtroom to address a disruption by Brandon Farley. It would not be revealed a little bit until a little bit later, but the voice sounded so familiar and it jogged in my mind. I have an educated idea who this is. I spoke with my attorney later and identified Brandon Farley. And then that's when my attorney went sidebar with the judge, and for the rest of trial, there was a elevated sheriff's deputy presence near the courtroom to deal with anybody making any further threats towards me.
The day before, Farley tweeted, "The Antifa super soldier I snitched out, 2PPB, also known as Aspen, will be in court tomorrow for the arrangements. Maybe I'll stop by and snap a few photos, lol." He never managed to get any photos this time, due to tighter rules.
Yes, he bragged about it a little later, and that's when he showed his whole ass regarding that.
Another officer, Jason Wands, was also questioned. He was someone who spoke to Almosa over the phone several days after the incident. He claimed Almosa reported this with no name for the suspect, later offering the name Aspen to him, something he had already recognised. When asked if a police lineup was conducted to identify Isabel, he said there wasn't, along with also saying that additional witnesses had not been interviewed. He said that physical evidence such as Almosa's clothing or residue from the spray, was not collected. Christina Serrano, one of Isabel's arresting officers, was also called to stand. When she first spoke about Isabel, she used male pronouns, which was corrected by the court. The final witness was Officer Dustin Bartz, the person who identified Isabel at the protest in order to make the arrest, connecting Isabel's all-black outfit to the one on the video Almosa provided. Almosa herself then testified to court. In this testimony, she said that she had always known the name of the perpetrator and that was Isabel Araujo. She said that she recognised Isabel from about 20 feet away, seeing her without a mask on, and that she'd known about her since the 2020 protests, identifying her by the face and the voice, hearing the name Isabel in the activist community. This heavily contradicts earlier reports and statements that she had given. When asked if Isabel ever met Almosa before the case, Isabel said,
I know she existed. Like, I know she's a person. I know she's an actor on the right. Most notably was she had a sexual affair with an anti-fascist activist in like 2022. An older, I wouldn't call them a close friend or anything like that. I want to bite my tongue regarding that, but Almosa loves to pound her chest and claim she slept with a general of Antifa here in Portland. Like, that's kind of like, give a sense of like her headspace.
On cross-examination, the defence confronted Almosa with inconsistencies in her timeline, identification details, and prior statements. A call recording of her police interview showed her acknowledging video edits that she had previously denied in court. Almosa accused the defence of trying to trap her and blamed the seemingly contradictory statements on memory gaps due to the long time since the event.
Almosa's interview with the police bureau was just this very shaky, like, identification of me. She has a self-published book called How I Became the Most Hated Activist, which my attorney presented as evidence in trial when my attorney cross-examined Almosa.
The defence counsel also showed her history of negative statements about Islam, showing many posts on social media that Almosa had made, attempting to frame Almosa's character as a type of person to intentionally provoke people like this for her own political gain.
The prosecutor is using my activism against me, trying to label me as somebody who's antagonistic and an instigator.
Isabel never testified herself, citing her Fifth Amendment rights. After this, the state rested its case. The defence renewed its speedy trial motion, arguing prejudice from Ngo's unavailability and ongoing online harassment, but the Judge Brown denied the motion, finding the delay not manifestly excessive or unreasonable. The defence also moved for a judgment of acquittal, saying that the state failed to show that Almosa had any substantial injuries from the assaults, or that the spray met the legal definition of a deleterious agent. The judge denied the motion and left those questions for the jury. Day 3 was the final day before deliberations. The defence laid out their case, relying on a Dr. Laney's expert testimony. Laney was a psychology professor with a focus on human memory and the ways it could go wrong related to trauma. She said that the way Almosa identified Isabel was a form of post-event information. She went on to explain how post-event information can substantially change someone's memory and mean that Almosa's accounts may be unreliable. Defence counsel urged for a moral certainty for conviction arguing that any honest uncertainty should be treated as reasonable doubt. The state objected, warning that this phrasing could sound religiously charged, given this was a case related to the burning of a religious item. The judge struck a balance, keeping the term out of the instructions but permitting the defence to use the argument in closing. The jury received an option to consider attempted assaults in the 4th degree if they believed Isabel took a substantial step towards causing injury but did not cause legally recognised physical harm of Almosa. Notably, the unlawful use of mace charge was presented only in its completed form, leaving jurors on an all-or-nothing decision on the courts. The state began by telling the jurors that Almosa is not widely liked. She had even said that herself in the past, but emphasised that free speech protects the unpopular. They urged the jurors to ignore ideology, saying that the case is about conduct, not politics. And Isabel's defence was just a distraction from the straightforward act of one individual spraying mace at an innocent, just because Isabel didn't like them. They used a dragnet flyer and Isabel's protest gear as evidence that it was her. The prosecution framed the defence as a simple one, saying that she took it upon herself to decide who could exercise free speech and used mace to silence Almosa. The jurors were then reminded that physical contact under Oregon law includes objects or substances released by a person, making the mace a qualifying act if they believed Almosa's account. The defence still argued that this was a case of mistaken identity, that the person in this video was not Isabel. She was just framed as a hate figure online by people thinking they could just connect the dots, edit videos to conform to their biased narratives, creating a story about how a random civilian that's already been the victim of so many problems is actually a villain. This was the internet lying, making assumptions about Isabel, that this was not a proper investigation that interviewed witnesses or conducted lineups. This was a smear campaign, like so many had done before. The jury were then left to make their decision. This did not last very long. The jury unanimously convicted Isabel on multiple counts. She was acquitted of 4th degree assault due to the lack of permanent injury on Almosa, but was convicted instead of attempted assault in the 4th degree, a Class B misdemeanour. She was also found guilty of a Class A misdemeanour of unlawful use of mace. A couple days after the case, Almosa herself posted this video talking about it.
March of 2024, in Portland, Oregon, Antifa threw a pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine rally in which I attended and burned a Quran. I was attacked for it by my own side, my own people, Antifa. Had it been Talmud or a Bible, it would have been fine. One of the people who attacked me was a biological male who identifies as a female and Muslim. They were arrested, charged, taken to court, and found guilty of assault in the 4th degree and unlawful use of a weapon just this week, August 5th, August 6th of 2025. Never happens. Antifa gets taken to court all the time in Portland, Oregon, never found guilty of anything, and they finally were. I just want to say one thing. You cannot be trans and a Muslim. You cannot be gay and a Muslim. You cannot be a lesbian and a Muslim. You cannot be bisexual and a Muslim. Muslims do not believe that 5-year-olds can choose their gender. For all of these people out there saying, I'm Antifa and we support Islam and I'm also trans, you're ridiculous. And it's embarrassing. You've made a joke out of what anti-fascism is, and you've made a joke out of the name. It's a clown show anymore. Nobody takes this seriously and Muslims are laughing at you. Please stop. You're embarrassing the actual anti-fascists like me. And I've gotten to the point where I'm just going to start calling it out all the time. I will confront you everywhere. because it needs to be actual anti-fascists calling out the clown show that it's become. Because the people that are out there now, they're not Antifa. They're not anti-fascists. They don't know what that means, just like they don't know what Islam and Muslim means. They don't know what they're doing. And I think it's about time that the real anti-fascists reclaim the title of anti-fascist. Alhamdulillah, Ara Akbar.
Isabel responded by posting this video on her Instagram.
Actually, there is this neat trick. If you are a transgender and want to be a Muslim, to become a Muslim, it's called taking the Shahada, the Islamic Statement of Faith. I've done it. It's actually pretty cool. It went something like this. Ashhadu alla ilaha Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Pretty easy. I also did it in Spanish and English after the Arabic, and it says, I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So, yeah, keep telling yourself, Sorbet Almosa, that I cannot be a transgender and a Muslim, because I just did.
Ending the video with the quote, Aspen has a right to defend herself. If you don't hear from me after this, I am sitting in Multnomah County Jail for a week. Confirming that she now sees herself as a Muslim person.
I believe in a monotheistic God, and that God is Allah.
Before this, she only identified as a Satanist with feelings for Islam. This is something that may seem contradictory to many, considering both ideologies. But she said to me, the longer I dabbled with the occult, the more religious I ended up getting, and that's why I turned to Islam.
I reverted to Islam for literally my reasons. Like, they are exactly that, my reasons. Like, this is to help me heal for the rest of my life.
Saying that she's tried many beliefs, but in the end, Islam was the one for her. She also said a need for spiritual fulfillment to help with her depression and suicidal thoughts, and wanting acceptance and validation without having to adhere to Western beauty standards as a trans woman were reasons for her to convert to Islam. She could now dress modestly and cover herself and be accepted by Allah.
I want a belief system that will guide me for the rest of my life. And, Allah tomorrow could decide, I go. I could die tomorrow, and, what did I do with my life? Islam is submission to God.
She also wanted to walk away from her quote-unquote lolcow past. She also clarified to me that she was closer to Shia Islam. She complained about her adversaries painting her beliefs as the extremist Salafi Wahhabi Islam.
Some interpretations, the Salafists, the Wahhabists, a fair amount of Sunnis probably will not get along with me. Because I've chosen to be Shia. And there are, especially the Salafists and the Wahhabists consider Shias as kuffar, non-believers.
Andy Ngo himself would also write an article about the case, in which he revealed he'd spoken to the accuser Almosa, and that she said to him, I feel like retaliation is headed my way. The far left are going to be coming after me harder than they ever were before. Believing that Isabel was going to be a martyr for the left, and that they'd go after her for revenge. I've seen no evidence that this actually happened, or many people were even on Isabel's side in this case.
I'm going to say it, I'm not the most popular person in the anti-fascist community here in Portland, nor do I seek to be.
Andy Ngo would later appear on the channel Newsmax to discuss Isabel and the case.
You probably haven't heard about Philip Haskins DeLisi, who now goes by the name Isabel because Philip thinks he's a woman. Philip was arrested last month in Portland, Oregon after violently attacking a woman. And when the attack happened, he was wearing the uniform of Antifa. They wear uniforms now. complete with a logo and a gas mask and black tactical riot gear and a patch that said Antifa Super Soldier. He was also carrying a chemical spray gun, and tomorrow this guy is going to be sentenced by a Portland judge. The expected sentence? Probation. Because that's how liberal judges treat the most disturbed, insane people in our society. This person also threatened to kill our next guest. And joining us now for more is senior editor at the Post Millennial and New York Times bestselling author Andy Ngo. But I want to show a few more photos of this guy, Philip. He wears the badge and logo of Antifa. You can see it right there, meaning he's official, meaning these aren't just people wearing black outfits anymore. This means they're mobilizing.
And there was a successful conviction last week at trial. Mr. Delici, who identifies as a female and now goes by Isabel Araujo.
Yeah, I must say he looks just like a female based on the pictures that you've sent us. He's a great-looking fellow.
He's a disturbed individual with a
right there,
long history of violence.
Really nice-looking person there. Yes, you know they look.
And threats.
Let me just ask you about this. Look at this thing. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Can you tell us about this guy? So this guy's in his 40s. Does he have a job? Well, I know he doesn't have a job. He doesn't like work at State Farm.
A close family friend of this person, a person who knew his mother and saw him grow up. By all accounts, Mr. Delici was raised in a Christian home by a mother who loved him dearly, but he became radicalized online.
And we expect this person to get probation tomorrow?
That's the best that can happen in the state of Oregon.
The day after this, Isabel's sentencing happened. Her sentence was 12 months bench probation, no contact with victim Almosa, and no carrying mace/pepper spray/any notorious agents during probation. She was also initially given a 7 days jail sentence. However, that was quickly suspended. Isabel's defence signalled that they would plead with the judge to allow her to carry mace for her self-defence needs, specifically naming Nazis amongst those she needs to defend herself from. The judge did not agree.
Activist light sentence for a vicious assault is sparking all the outrage, and the Dallas Express has the explosive...
Many on the right believe that the sentencing was far too lenient, with many outlets writing about it. The Post Millennial went further and had Katie Daviscourt outside the courthouse on the day of sentencing, filming this video questioning Isabel.
Isabel! Hey, I want to ask you if you apologize for assaulting Almosa. Is it true that you assaulted your frail mother?
Fuck Israel! Fuck Israel!
Did you assault your frail mother?
Fuck Israel! Fuck Israel!
Anything else you want to add?
Fuck Israel! Fuck Israel! Israel's a bitch-ass country funded by your fucking taxpayer dollars!
Anything else you want to add? Why did you...
Fuck off, you Zionist! Fuck off, you Zionist! Fuck off, you Zionist! Fuck off, you Zionist! Fuck off, you Zionist!
I'm not a Zionist, I'm a reporter. I just want to ask
Fuck you! You are a propagandist for ending now! A fucking Nazi! A Zionist Nazi! An Israel bootlicking Nazi!
How do you feel about not being sentenced to jail?
Go kill yourself!
The phrase she shouted at the start of the video was an Arabic slogan, meaning, "O Jews, the army of Muhammad will return." Isabel claimed that she had her own reasons for her language.
So, me being the strategic person, I know that Miss Daviscourt is a fan of trying to get clips to like Fox News or OANN or what is it, One American News Network. What is it? Stitchfield at like Newsmax. All these right-wing platforming regime media, as I like to call them. So my strategy was like, I saw her at my sentencing and I'm like thinking to myself, I know she's going to follow me. I know she's going to badger me. She's going to film me. At this point, it is go all or nothing, cuss her out, scream Claviar, Claviar, Yahood, and fire enough fuck Israel she cannot use her clip for Fox News.
Isabel later tweeted about this video, stating, KK Katie Daviscourt was very convinced that I had a firearm on me yesterday at the courthouse. Lol. My question was, where was yours? Because you like to pull that thing on ICE protesters. Can't quite pull a gun and aim a smartphone camera at me at the same time, can you, Katie? Learn to lie better. Andy and Katie are mark-ass bitches. Also, know the difference between getting popped and getting popped. Bring someone's mother into this again, and it's going to end badly. KK Katie Daviscourt almost got popped for running her mouth about a Latina Muslim or trans woman's mom. Live and learn, Zio-Nazi. Whilst as part of her sentence, she had a restraining order against Almosa. She realised the same didn't apply to Andy now.
Now that Andy's little lawfare game largely backfired on him, because you would think I'd go after his proxy as a result. I'm like, no, I'm not going to violate the probation rules. No, I'm going to go after Andy because the restraining order applies to Sorbet Almosa. Okay, not to Andy. Because I know his little trick. I know about his little game that he played with Sorbet Almosa to go after me. And now it's like, okay, dude. I know about this now. You can't do this again unless you kill me. I want to force his hand to get one of his lunatic fringe followers to like try to kill me.
At this point, she started taunting Andy Ngo, believing she could make him get someone to kill her and make her a martyr. In what she called the war with Andy Ngo. She believed Andy Ngo had her on a quote-unquote kill list and made many posts about firing milkshake missiles at Andy Ngo's residency in London, referencing an incident where Andy Ngo was hit by milkshakes by Antifa. A couple of days later she posted, fighting a sore throat the last couple of days, can barely talk but I'm definitely catching up on sleep. A price well paid for cussing out KK Katie Daviscourt. She's extremely lucky my attorney intervened to prevent me from killing her. 161/10, I would do it again. Andy and Katie, if you are reading this, the next time you bring up someone's mum and it's not the courthouse, there will not be a base department attorney to save Katie separating us. She nearly ate a red triangle for her bullshit. Andy Ngo shared this post, interpreting it as Isabel saying she was going to kill Daviscourt. Isabel responded, somewhat able to talk again, still hurts to swallow, and checks notes. Andy Ngo tweeted about my sore throat. I guess he cares about... No, he is still mad that I did not get the death penalty for a misdemeanor. Lol. Allahu Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Day 16 of the war between two rivals. After Charlie Kirk's assassination, Isabel said, Inshallah, I hope he doesn't survive, and started posting about how she thinks the killing was justified, and that Andy Ngo was next, falsely accusing both of them of calling for her murder, saying she is chanting Allahu Akbar to Charlie Kirk's demise. Isabel has really exaggerated her Muslim identity.
Always make time for prayer.
She finally has a new fictional nation replacing Ostalatina. This time it's the Islamic Republic of Aspen.
The Islamic Republic of Aspen.
Which is allied with many other countries in the war with Andy Ngo. This self-described war continues to this day, with her posting and posting more and more about it. Even before she came out as a Muslim, Andy Ngo had frequently called her in posts violent Muslim.
I mean, he's also called me a violent Muslim. Before I revert it. He called me a Muslim before I revert it.
She addressed this in a video titled The Islamic Republic of Aspen Responds to Andy Ngo.
Andy, I have a question. Why do you keep targeting me? Is it because I'm transgender? Is it because I'm Muslim? Is it because I'm with Antifa? Or is it D, all the above? Apparently, you're going for all the above when it comes to me. I feel so touched to have... How long have you been cold warring against me, Andy? 5 years at least? November 2020. And you really ratchet things up around 2024 for some reason. You were just upset about the 26-day flame war we had on Twitter before Elon Musk took it over back in 2022. You know, the one where you called me, I'm going to use your words, Antifa leader. Yeah, that is actually the best title you ever gave me. So much so, I will not confirm or deny the existence of a tattoo that says Antifa leader somewhere on my body. And I have you to thank for that. But then, a couple days ago, you called me, and I'm going to use your words in your tweet, violent Muslim, before all the other titles afterwards. Trans Portland Antifa member was the rest of it. So we're going 6 words now. You know, our fight would have not been over Islam if you just called me Antifa leader like you did in 2022. Or just trans Antifa leader. But no, violent Muslim. So my question to you is, why? Am I angry because you called me a violent Muslim? Not really. I just think it's funny. So funny, in fact, I anticipated your Islamophobia for several years now. And maybe you should stop propping up proxies that burn the Holy Quran. Just an opinion. Just an opinion. That doesn't make it fact or anything, you know, just my humble opinion. Maybe you should stop propping up proxies that run around Portland and burn the Holy Quran. Andy, you've been really salty about my very existence for a long time. And it seems like things have escalated since August. I have to go back to your comment regarding violent Muslim. Is this a war against me, Andy, or a war against Islam? On my 40th birthday, I got this wonderful Shahada headband, so maybe I'm definitely prepared for the next stage of our fight. I'm interested in this dragging into 2026, and quite potentially 2027, 2028, 2029. Maybe into the 2030s. This can easily become another Ukraine if you keep going.
This video was filmed by Muslim reverts and Islamic activist John Paul Cupp.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a raghead, and I'm an Aryan peckerwood.
Someone who was formally arrested by the FBI for threatening to kill ICE agents and sexually assault their wives.
Oh, boy's brave. His wife will love looking at his fucking head when he gets it in the mail. You don't know who the fuck you're dealing with. I'm that motherfucker. Oh, yeah.
As well as apparently plotting a mass jihad against federal agents.
I'm going to do the laundry before Juma prayers, my Friday prayers, and I'm going to be anti-government about it.
This is someone who Isabel became very close friends with. During this time, she filed to appeal all the charges, believing that it was an unfair trial, and she could possibly have them dropped.
I think there's a 51-49 chance of an overturn, particularly with all the pretrial motions that were denied, and there would have to be two options that the court would have to do. It would be a full overturn. If they rule in my favor, it would be a full overturn, meaning they can't bring it to trial ever again. They could also do a conditional overturn, which means they have to retry it. The second option is too dicey constitutionally, so that leaves option 1. Option 3, they don't rule in my favor. Okay, the rest of my bench probation's up in like August.
It should be clear to all Americans that we have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa.
On the 23rd of September 2025, President Donald Trump designated Antifa as a terrorist organisation. I made a post about this, saying that technically, ADF was now a terrorist. This was the point at which I got a comment from none other than ADF herself, who stated, "The desperate act of a fascistic government and political system that is more and more afraid of its own citizens and to stifle dissent. Not the first time I've been called a terrorist. This won't be the last time either. Meanwhile, I have been terrorised by KiwiFarms and its predecessor iterations and Andy No for a combined total of over 17 years. But who? I am the terrorist for supporting the Palestinian resistance against the temporary Zionist entity. But I am the terrorist for fighting fascism and Islamophobia when it rears its ugly head in Portland. But I am the terrorist because I am a transgender or because I am a Muslim revert. Got it? It's white supremacist and Zionist logic to apply all dissent from marginalised people as terrorism. That's what the US is doing to its own citizens." She reposted this comment herself on her Insta, saying, "Based response," and KiwiFarms complaining about me being a terrorist. Don't complain about what you helped created. I guess she's calling me KiwiFarms? I post about this as well, given that the other subject of my documentary, Cybersmith, was also in the comments, and that this could be considered a crossover. I would later find out that she really isn't a fan of Cybersmith, especially not his idea of moving Mecca into the British Museum. She replied, "Cybersmith is an Islamophobe and a Zionist. I don't platform fascism." Well, that's fair enough, but I do. So that's when I asked her to add me on Discord. We messaged for a while, getting to know each other more and getting all the basics down before I could arrange a remote interview with her. This was all agreed to and initially set for late October, but then all of a sudden the real world got in the way.
Portland, the destruction of the city. Well, I'm going to look at it now because I didn't know that was still going on. This has been going on for years.
A couple days before our originally set interview in October, news came out that Donald Trump was planning to send troops to Portland to handle domestic terrorists such as Antifa. Concerned about this and the threats from KiwiFarms impersonating law enforcement, she delayed the call, saying, "I apologise, but when far-right actors decide that it's time to do opportunism at its worst, it's time to strap up. Just like in 2020 here in Portland." I asked her to let me know when she's available, and she said, "I will, inshallah." Lastly, if I die, it was not a suicide. I was killed by the government or a fascist. I have not been suicidal once since I reverted to Islam. After that, I didn't hear from her for months. Me thinking, The whole interview was all over. Until one day, I got this message in January. I'm sorry I haven't spoken to you in a while. Navigating the world hostile to who I am and to my faith, a couple of people who used to be close to me are no longer close to me by the way of Islamophobia within the leftist and queer community here in Portland. I have had one member threaten violence against me upon the discovery of the documentary you did on me. I just want to be clear that I'm not laying that at your feet. I'm just telling you, the reality is, I'm dealing with, and the primary contradiction is, people still ascribe to cancel /cringe /lol cow culture. We are dealing with the reality of, I'm a revert to Islam, and people have their knives out with regards to me. People lack the complex understanding of how complex people can be. I'm still open to doing an interview, but I would request that it would happen after Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr are coming up. I want to approach this with new eyes, having fasted for 30 days. Once again, I don't hold the documentary in itself harmful, but people who are not nuanced are using it as permission structure to inflict harm on me. I looked into a bit more what this is, and it seems that around that time she was being kicked out of her local PDX Portland group, with them calling her a paedophile, possibly in reference to these parts of the documentary. Most of these cosplayers were minors, typically around 14 years old, and incredibly uncomfortable with ADF's presence, the majority trying to ignore her as she followed them around. She was banned from many events like this due to her inappropriate behaviour. She claimed that the person who called her a paedophile was an abuser themselves, and that she was willing to fight the next person who called her that word. And it was only said by transphobes and Islamophobes to silence her, as they dare to smear a Muslim trans woman as a paedophile. There are no Muslims in the Epstein files. That last statement is factually incorrect. She also claimed that they were being paid by Andy Ngo or Israel and threatened to dox their number. We initially planned to do the call on Discord until Isabel decided to boycott the company due to its ID verification laws. She instead added me on Instagram to talk, which meant I finally got access to all of her private posts, which I am very glad about because it's a bit of a treasure trove here.
My mouth is literally having sex. Yes!
It also includes posts that seem to very much imply that it was her who maced Almosa, and that Almosa deserved it.
I'm also a pro-Palestine activist by extension of getting arrested last year for protecting a Palestine protest from an Islamophobe, so...
With her calling it an open misdemeanor case because I protected a Palestine protest last spring. It wasn't until after Eid where we could properly talk face to face. Aside from her brief interaction with Katie Daviscourt, Isabel had not given a full interview since 2012. The point of this conversation was always intended to be casual. She made it clear ahead of time that she has a zero tolerance for fash speech. But ignoring that, arguing and insulting isn't my style. I think just having a polite conversation is important and can change how you view someone. Everyone else watching can and will justifiably be critical of her. But I assured Isabel that she would lead the conversation, and she mostly wanted to talk about her Muslim faith. She even said going in that I should treat this as if I was interviewing a member of Hamas. Notably theming her outfit on Hamas spokesperson Abu Ubada.
تمنعهم دباباتهم ولن تحميهم من حمم الموت.
How are you, first of all? You have a good night last night?
Yeah, my Eid was great.
Good. Did you spend it with any friends or?
I was home. I didn't want to do anything special. I was like, look, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to need to adjust to eating during the daytime again a little bit after nearly 30 days of doing it at night.
I bet, yeah. It's probably
Yeah.
messed your sleep schedule a bit.
It did a little bit. Like, it was like, okay, I kept having my alarm on for 30 minutes before Fajr, so I would be able to chug water before I pray.
Isabel claims she did the first 20 days of Ramadan, but needed to break her fast a couple of times. The first time, after the first 19 days, due to low blood sugar and a thyroid issue. But she's proud that she made it that far, and will fast on 3 makeup days in late April, early May.
Yeah, and then the shit kicked off with Iran, and then, of course, for about 4 or 5 days, I was only getting 3 hours sleep. Because I'm, like, checking I keep getting notifications, I keep checking Telegram, I keep checking Instagram, I'm like...
Right, a lot of people wanting to know your opinion on. Or is it just things you're hearing?
I mean, you obviously know what side I'm on. I'm on Israel gets fucked side of the war.
Right. Yes, you've definitely made that big part of your personality now.
I mean, I've long stood with the Palestinian cause. So this wasn't because of October 7th. Like, nope, well before that.
Well before October 7th. Yes, I mean, I've discussed this in my original documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's how was it to watch that, by the way?
I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the last 2 episodes.
Right.
I'm like, everything felt like ancient history until my clashes with Andy now.
She said to me that watching the earlier episodes of the documentary made her more uncomfortable, as she was getting more and more concerned that she was going to be attacked again for her past. And because of that, she didn't watch it all in one go. Was there anything like you regret, or is it just that's just in the past?
It's in the past, and as a Muslim, you don't. As a Muslim, I make it I make it a thing where I don't dwell on the sins of the past. Like, this isn't a thing where it's like, in Islam, you take the Shahada, you are seen as starting anew, clean slate. All sins prior to taking the Shahada are forgiven, including murder.
Right.
Yeah, I hold a very Islamic view about my past. There's now 2 periods of my history now. Before Islam and Islamic me.
After going through so many identities, it could be difficult to believe that Isabel's conversion to Islam is going to be a serious thing, rather than just another phase. You've gone through a few religions. This is...
Yes, and none of them fit me, and none of them ultimately fit me, and I settled on Islam.
She has definitely had "I support the current thing" allegations many times. And the current thing right now for left-wing activism is Palestine. But she's insistent that this is permanent.
This is where I'm at in my life, and truth be told, I'm gonna die a Muslim.
We'll just have to see if that turns out to be true.
Like, I'm definitely sticking to that, like...
Have you told your family?
My mom knows.
How about your siblings? Do you talk to them at all?
It's mainly just mom and me, because my half-brother doesn't know what I've been doing with my life. I mean, the last time I visited East was in 2015.
I ask this as Isabel's siblings are something that she rarely mentions. More than just one half-brother. Her father did have other children. One she never saw much of, due to her strenuous relationship with him. Her father also accused Isabel of not liking the family, due to them being black. But all this family was in New Jersey, a place Isabel moved away from long ago, and had no intention of going back and reliving her childhood, with her now living in Portland.
Yes, I miss home, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, I started over west, and that's it. I wanted this. I wanted this since I was a kid. I wanted to be on the West Coast since I was a kid.
Before this interview started, she explicitly asked if I had any ties to KiwiFarms. It was clear that me being one of the quote-unquote trolls was something that she was worried about. As I've said, I want to make clear that I'm not part of those groups. I condemn.
Otherwise, we would have not been having this interview.
Yes. Exactly.
I want to be clear about that. I have principles. I have principles. We would have not been having this interview if you had membership with KiwiFarms. I just want to be clear with that.
As I say, I'm just reporting on the story as it is.
Yeah.
You said you had some problems with someone that watched my documentary. What was that about? I know you messaged me about that the other day.
What was that? The original documentary? Oh, wait a minute. Katie Daviscourt. I mean, I've had. Okay, depends who we're talking about. I'm dealing with several people who've taken issue with me over the years since the documentary. So, do we want to start with the first one, or do you want to go with the most recent? Because
anyone really.
I've had a lot on my plate the last few years.
Oh, I bet. I think we'll get to that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just start with the most recent. I mean, I feel like Andy Ngo and Katie Daviscourt of the Post-Millennial know about your documentary. They've seen it. I feel like they've watched it. I don't know if they've reached out to you.
No, I've had no contact with them.
Okay, because funny enough, because Andy is in hiding right now in the United Kingdom.
Yes, I can't say I've seen him around.
I know you're in a different part of England. Yeah. He's chiefly around Greater London.
Mm-hmm. But you said there was someone in Portland that had issue with you, and that's why you delayed it for a while.
People who have cut ties with me or don't believe my side of the story. Yeah, I've lost people over the last couple of years. Like, it's at this point I'm like, all right, fine, leave. Kind of like that. I'm not gonna engage in this self-phalangizing behavior of things I did before I reverted to Islam. Like, that's just that's my attitude now in 2026. Like, you know what? Okay, if you're gonna leave me over dumb shit, okay, bye. This isn't Heathrow. This isn't Ben Gurion Airport. Go.
I see that, and if you don't want to dwell on it, that's fine. But if there is anything that I put out and you want to correct the record or want to say your side of the story on, you have the chance.
Yeah, I think it's up. It's up. I'm not going to tell you to edit. Take things down. Like if it. That's not my place.
Okay, I see.
I just don't see it as what do I gain out of that? Nothing.
So you've converted to Islam. You said there was a few people you've spoken to in the Muslim community. Do you attend mosques at all?
I am friends with a couple of reverts. I am friends with a couple of reverts. So I'm not alone in this journey, but also it's kind of it is a little lonely. Like, it is my first year doing this. It's a little daunting, and I'm navigating that.
Do you have any difficulties, like, as a trans woman, and I don't know what sexuality you currently identify as, but with that kind of religion and the other people?
As a trans woman, I feel like I've gotten more grief from other trans women.
Than so
in
being
the
a Muslim?
Yeah, other Western trans women give me grief for this. I feel like some of them do. Like, they're like, why they're giving me like this, why Islam?
One thing that many were clearly confused by is the fact that she is a trans, queer Muslim.
You cannot be trans and a Muslim.
And Islam generally views gender as a binary, having male and female spaces, and changing one's gender or even imitating the opposite sex is considered a major sin.
Yeah, they already think I can't be. Yeah, they think I can't be Muslim because I'm transgender. Like, well, it happened years before I took my shahada, so you're now arguing, like, that's getting into the whole takfiri thing where it's like, oh, you're not a Muslim because X, Y, and Z. Honestly, most Muslims would also argue a different point. Like, you can be a sinful Muslim, and that's better than being not Muslim.
Is that how you see it?
Yes.
Now being a Muslim, she has since talked about wanting to move away from her sinful past, wanting to wait till marriage for any kind of relationship, wanting a husband, and valuing modesty as a Muslim woman. But you do identify as a trans woman who is also a Muslim.
Yes.
It's just...
Yes.
Previously, she identified as various sexualities, including being an alleged sex worker. There was also a period where she would entirely avoid men for a long time due to misandry. This has all changed.
So, yeah, keep telling yourself, Sorbet Almosa, that I cannot be a transgender and a Muslim, because I just did.
At this point, I asked Isabel about some of her most controversial takes, such as on Israel-Palestine, and specifically the events of October 7, 2022. Since she said this was an important step within her Muslim identity. I recognise this is a deeply complex and sensitive issue for many, one you really should not get your information about from a lolcow documentary about this one. There are plenty of other better sources on the subject. You mentioned specifically about October 7th. Is there anything you could kind of expand on that, or?
October 7th, Typhoon Alaska. Okay. So, Operation Alaska Flood, in my eyes, was a justifiable act of resistance against the temporary Zionist entity by the Palestinian resistance groups. This wasn't just Hamas that did October 7th. It was also PFLP, the PIJ, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Popular Front Liberation of Palestine, the Palestinian Mujahideen movement, which is a more extremist Islamic resistance group than Hamas. Hamas are a little bit moderate compared to them. And they saw what was coming because of... Now, we rewind the clock back a few years to the Abraham Accords Donald Trump brokered with some of the Gulf states, particularly the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar. And the last piece of normalization that would have happened was Saudi Arabia. Like, Saudi Arabia was this close to normalizing relations with Israel. And in September of that year, Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to... He went in front of the United Nations. He argued for a plan of his plan for the Middle East. He was arguing, we have to get rid of, current Syria, Lebanon. He was complaining about the largely Shia country factions that would not normalize with Israel. And of course, we all know what those countries are: Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, because Bashar al-Assad was still a thing in 2023. And a lot of the Palestinian groups, from 2022, started this thing called the Atherton X of Palestinian liberation. It was basically a groundwork of principles that state we are not going to normalize with Israel. No, like, we're not going to have peace with Israel. We're not going to normalize anymore with Israel. We gained nothing. We gained nothing from Oslo for the last 30 years and the BS peace process. That all it did was legitimize further Israeli theft of Palestinian land in the West Bank and Gaza during, the 90s and early 2000s that led up to the Second Intifada. And the Second Intifada happened when I was in high school. So, October 7th, 2023 for me was like, I woke up, I saw the news, I was like, let's go.
You were celebrating?
Yes. Rightful. I'm like, for the first time in 75 years, Israel's myth of invincibility has been trashed.
Right. Would you say you have any sympathy for any of the Israelis that were hurt in the attack? Or any of the civilian casualties?
I mean, happenstance at Re'im with the Nova Music Festival. My first question is, why in God's name would you have a music festival next to an open-air concentration camp, which is the Gaza Strip? Like, why would the Israeli security authorities allow a music festival within 5 kilometers of the Gaza border? Like, would it have made sense to put this, I don't know, further in the interior of occupied Palestine? Like, I don't know, closer to Tel Aviv, the coastal plain, Haifa, Nazareth?
You did, you said the event kind of helped your Muslim identity develop. Could you expand on that a bit, or is it just...
I say that because of Israel's bombing of Gaza that happened right after. Obviously, Israel wasn't going to take this all lying down. Which, no surprise, they're going to retaliate the next day. And just seeing night after night on my feed on Instagram of innocent Palestinians getting killed and still trying to go about their day-to-day lives and just watching the Islamic faith in action, keeping social cohesion together is what really, floored it for me to be interested in Islam.
Did you know much about the Islamic faith beforehand? Have you read the Quran?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... And now you think you're living your life more according to that?
Yes.
So what about kind of Islam inspired you and made you feel like you were meant to be part of it?
I hold a lot of commonality with the belief of martyrdom. Particularly, this is more of a centerpiece in Shia Islam than, say, Sunni Islam.
You see yourself as a martyr?
Yes. Like, if it, like, martyrdom is not something to be feared, but welcomed. I've read the Quran for years. Like, I think the first Quran I ever owned was back in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So I've had prior contact with the religion. Like, I've had coworkers that are Muslim.
Back at what was it called? Wawa's, was it?
Yeah. Back in my days at Wawa, I've had Muslim coworkers.
So that was your last job. When was that?
2002 to 2010. So, I mean, being New Jersey, you know, and Philly, I have plenty of contact with the Islamic community. Like, you're gonna throw a rock and you're gonna hit a mosque at some point in the city.
She told me ahead of time that, even though she was proven guilty, she wanted me to assume innocence in regards to her case, as the case is currently on appeal. Her still having multiple issues with the way it went down. I know you said you didn't really want to say much because it's on appeal, but I think it's probably time we start talking about the case and what happened with Almosa.
Obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to recognize the state's verdict. I mean, this goes into the whole non-recognition of certain entities position that I take, be it Israel or the state of Oregon right now. I think the verdict was informed by a very highly politicized trial in which my constitutional rights were denied. If the American Constitution is worth a piss to anybody in 2026 in this country. And basically, the prosecutor had an agenda, and he had a pro-Israel agenda. Like, oh, I gotta get one against this pro-Palestine terrorist.
Which constitutional rights do you think you were denied?
I was denied a fair trial, chiefly. Like, I think the procedures of the trial, pretrial motions majority of my pretrial motions were denied.
Could you expand on that a little?
I don't have the notes from the trial with me. I don't have the legal pad that I jotted down on. But basically, there was a motion to suppress evidence, and the judge allowed all of the evidence in. And that should have been not allowed. We were trying to argue a Lawson motion. So in the state of Oregon, we have an evidence code where you can argue mistaken identity. And a lot of the there was some really poor police work done on the end of the Portland Police Bureau. I was not detained long enough for a show up to be identified by Almosa as her quote-unquote attacker. Like, I was not Mirandized also. I wasn't mistreated or I wasn't mistreated or physically abused in custody or anything like that. But it just begs the question of how, the Portland Police Bureau was sloppy. Let's just argue there, because I wish I could have it pulled up in front of me, but Almosa's interview with the police bureau was just this very shaky, identification of me. She couldn't substantiate if she knew me from before, and then it was revealed that she had an assistance of identification from Andy Ngo.
Right.
And this is where the whole proxy war with Andy now comes into play, present day.
So is that your official story from your side of view, that it was a case of mistaken identity? It wasn't you that
Correct.
did it? It was...
Correct. I'm not agreeing with the state's decision. This is why it's going to appeals.
While she adamantly denies that it was her that maced Almosa still, she did quickly go on to talk about how she thinks Almosa deserved it. And in a just world, she would receive even more punishment for burning the Quran.
Yeah. for whoever did it, yeah, it would be a legitimate act of self-defense, especially if they are the targeted group. You know, I'm not the judge here. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if I were in charge of Portland, it would be Miss Almosa that would be in jail for desecrating the Quran, as far as I'm personally concerned. But I don't hold political power in Portland, so there.
She does not see this as freedom of speech.
If you're running around the world trying to manufacture consent for violence against Muslims by burning the Quran in multiple jurisdictions, be it Portland, Dearborn, Manchester, London, Paris, France, I don't feel like the free speech argument holds there, or the personal property argument can hold there. Because I feel like that crosses enough of those lines to where I'm like, I don't think that's free speech. I believe this is incitement to manufacture violence against Muslims. And then the whole, you know, situation with Palestine arose in 2023, it would just be, you know, all the right-wing Islamophobes, Christo-fascists are, you know, chomping at the bit for, oh, it's those damn Muslims, those damn ragheads, blah, 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 blah. If she's actively committing a hate crime against the Islamic community, I mean, there could have been other ways it would have happened for her. And would you have rather somebody have shot her? No. Like, with a gun? No. I believe it was an inevitable clash. Like, someone and her someday would have, yeah, okay, wonderful idea. Let's go burn the Quran. And knowing that there will be Muslims present to try to elicit some sort of response. And if shit flies her way, at what point is it had it coming award gets earned?
The conversation then went back to Israel, and her being paranoid about the Israeli government specifically targeting her.
Yes, the government and their proxy actors here in the United States. They know about the existence of Miss Isabel Araujo, and this whole case made me a permanent enemy of Israel. Like, if I wasn't before, you know, 2024, I was definitely after August 14th last year. Obviously, I can't leave my house unless I'm wearing bulletproof protection on my body. Like, I have to wear a bulletproof vest leaving the house, just going to the grocery store. Because I'm at risk of extrajudicial murder by a foreign government such as Israel. That's partly why I have not went back to the East Coast. Now it's like, I want to see my mom again, but I'm like, there's a good chance I will be killed by somebody who supports Israel.
She also said that she felt that KiwiFarms or Andy Ngo could assassinate her. It goes without saying, but there is no evidence that any of this is true.
Andy and Israel are colluding to get me killed. Like, I'm going to start saying that a lot more, and it's going to make him more uncomfortable. And then he, in turn, will talk about it, and it might pour a lot of cold water on any of their plans, short, intermediate term.
She said to me before that she wishes they would follow through with their threats, saying, "If I die, it's martyrdom. If I survive, it's revenge."
I want to send a message to KiwiFarms and Andy Ngo. If you come after me and I live, you're going to pay.
When the interview ended and everything else was said, she only had this to say.
At some point, I just want to be left in peace to to focus on my dean, you know, to focus on what I believe, to focus on, you know, my faith at some point, you know, like I foresee a day where I don't have to fight anymore, but I think we're nowhere near that point in history for a little while.
And that last part did stick with me a little, because when I finished the last series, I genuinely thought exactly that was going to happen. KiwiFarms was posting about her less, Andy Ngo wasn't really talking about her, and I'd stopped my series. I don't know how this appeal is going to go. She seems fairly hopeful, but I'm not too sure. She seems pretty guilty to me. She knows the truth, but if it was her, then that was just her own violent actions that brought her back into the spotlight. She didn't need to do that. She didn't need to do any of that. She makes a choice. She could have peace, and once things blow over, she still can. I think that's more likely than her being assassinated by any of the groups she mentioned.
They would try to work to probably kill me going to a place of worship, such as a mosque. Andy Ngo would probably be willing to sacrifice one of his followers' liberty to engineer such a plot. I feel like that could happen in the next couple of years. Or Israel beats Andy and KiwiFarms to it and kills me. I would like to have a normal life expectancy without looking over my shoulder, but you know, I've been asking for that since 23 years old, and I still don't have it at 40, so...
But I don't know if that's what she wants. For a while I was unsure whether I should make another video about Isabel. That maybe this isn't the best idea, morally speaking. But then she goes ahead and reaches out to me, encouraging it. More recently she started actively messaging Andy Ngo a couple weeks ago, saying, "You killed Hamani and you will pay. You don't fuck with Shia Muslims and expect to get away with it, milkshake infidel." The Iranian Ayatollah being someone Isabel openly supports. And Andy Ngo responded by making another article about her, publicising her private mugshot and making more extreme claims, because Isabel invited him to. He's living rent-free in her mind much more than she seems to be in his. Isabel has said she's committed to doing this more.
Like, I'm not gonna play peace with Andy anymore. Like, this is like, I'm going to have to do my due diligence to probably keep things a little escalated a while with Andy, to just make it like onerous for KiwiFarms to like attempt anything.
They both gain attention from the interactions, and she is helping paint the narrative, showing the story to the public, and who the villain in it is.
Andy is a very serious person, too, I have to tell you. I've been watching him for a long time. Is Andy here? That's what I thought. Hello, Andy. I thought that was you.
Andy Ngo and Katie Daviscourt have since been invited to the White House, lauded as heroes and martyrs because of their attacks by the villainous Antifa. Meanwhile, Isabel is still shown as the symbol of an enemy. So, if you're still watching this, Isabel, I want to take the chance to say that my interest in you was never political. Although I fundamentally disagree with so much that you say, I may be as quote-unquote anti-fascist as anyone is, but you have done and said things I find deplorable, and I hope these violent beliefs, actions and rhetoric stop. Violence that you say started with your father, and I believe that there may be truth to that. I don't know how much of it I believe, but one thing I do agree with Isabel on is that physically punishing children, especially the autistic, is wrong and very much has clear negative side effects. Isabel is the result of that. To me, it seems that all her life she wanted to be, in any form she could find, a victim that could fight back. Or, to put it another way, a martyr. Isabel, whilst many hate, troll and mock you and your story, others sympathise and just feel sad to watch all of this happen. I always wanted a happy ending for this series. For Isabel to have peace, no controversy, no notoriety, and simply be left alone. But Isabel, only you can make that so.
What?
Yeah, I must be really fucking evil. I'm so evil. I can kick the devil out of hell. Yeah. Dear Chairwoman Harrell. Oh, you don't want this monster knocking on your door.
Cut.